Guys, Louise here with Red Pointy Dog Training, and welcome back to Reactive Dog Chats. It's episode number 6. Today we're going to be talking about my top suggestions for working with reactive dogs. Are you ready? Let's get started. My number one suggestion for working with reactive dogs is that you focus on your dog's emotional state, not their behavior. Now, if you've been with me for a while, if you've watched the other episodes, then this isn't a new concept for you. But the idea is that when we focus on how our dog feels, we naturally improve their behavior over time. Because it's not their behavior that is the problem. It's not that your dog barks, lunges, growls, snarls, snaps, or even bites that is the main problem. Is it a problem? Yes. But it's not the main problem. It's not the root to why your dog is reactive, which is what we were talking about last time. But when we focus on how our dog feels, that emotional state, that's when we tackle the root of your dog's behavior problem. And that's exactly how we're going to help improve their behavior over time. So let's say, for example, that your dog is reactive because they're frustrated and they're barking and pulling and dragging you just to go and say hello to another dog. If we tackle their frustration, if we improve how they feel, if we improve their behavior in that emotional state so they aren't feeling so conflicted and desperate to say hello, then their frustration naturally improves and therefore their reactivity will as well. Now, if you have a dog who's reactive because they are afraid of other dogs and they're trying to protect themselves, if we help them feel more comfortable and confident when on leash with us around dogs, we teach our dogs that they don't have to worry about it. We've got it for them. We improve the way that they feel. We improve their behavior. Okay, now it's not the full solution, but it's the best place to start. Tip number 2 is that you focus on foundation behaviors before jumping into training your dog in a trigger scenario. So what I mean by that is your dog has to really understand foundational skills in a non-distracting environment before we expect them to perform that skill in a situation where their trigger is present. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want your dog to remain calm and nearby, and maybe also offering attention when a car goes by on your walk. If that's the case, you can't train your dog in that trigger scenario because your dog is in that fight or flight mode. They're reacting toward the car. They're not able to focus on you. But if we introduce that foundation behavior, baby steps over time, we're going to see significant improvement. So what I want to see you do is train that behavior inside, off leash, when there's nothing going on. And when your dog is like, this is amazing, this is the easiest thing I've ever done, then you move on to inside on a leash, because the leash coming into the picture adds a whole nother level of distraction for most dogs. And then step number 3 is inside on a leash with intentional distractions. I usually tell my clients to try and train their reactive dogs on this stage when they're ready for it, when the kids are running around or when their spouse is making dinner for them. So there's higher activity going on in the house, but there's not a dog walking through. There isn't a stranger over. There's nothing triggering, just a little distracting. And then the next step from there is then trying it outside on a leash. So you've done all these steps inside. They're proficient indoors. They know it like the back of their paw. Then you try it outside on a leash. And then you may try it outside on a leash with distractions, but again, still not triggers. So again, it could be you practice outside in the yard when your family's walking around, or if a deer has just gone through your yard. So there's distractions present in the environment that you're competing with rather, to get your dog's attention and focus and willingness to work with you, but they're not in a trigger scenario. Then, and only then, when your dog is like, I know this game, it's no big deal, I do it all the time, only then can we try and ask our dog to do that skill in a trigger scenario. So tip number 2, really focus on those foundation skills, build that reliability, proof that skill and behavior before you try it in a triggering scenario. And tip number 3 is to be properly prepared. So I want you to be prepared. I want you to have the tools necessary to help your dog through the world. So that might be a treat pouch, but I'm not talking like a little treat pouch. I'm talking like a fanny pack with multiple pockets, or maybe even have a backpack. Maybe you have a training vest. I want you to have all of the things and all of the pockets in which to hold the things. So the things could be your regular training treats. They could be your high value training treats. When Piper was younger, we used to go out and I would always have a turkey meatball, like a whole meatball kicking around in my treat pouch. So should a situation arise, I had a high value reward right there ready to go. But I regularly used, like jerky training treats with her and only used the turkey as a backup emergency meatball, if you will. You might want to have an extra leash. You might want to have a carabiner clip so that you can tether your dog to a tree or a mailbox in the event of an off-leash dog. Speaking of off-leash dogs, you might also want to have Spray Shield. I'll link this in the description below for you if you don't know what I'm talking about, but Spray Shield is kind of like pepper spray, but it's dog safe. It's citronella spray, so it can help deter an oncoming dog, prevent a dog fight, or even break up a dog fight. You might even want to have water and a dog bowl, poop bags, all the things. You might even need a little dark chocolate for yourself to reward yourself for doing hard things. But you can't have all the things if you aren't properly prepared. And similarly, on this tip, I want you to make sure your dog is properly prepared. Ask yourself, is this situation appropriate for where my dog's level of learning is at? When we train dogs, we train them. We don't test them. If you're going out going, well, I hope this works. I'm not saying you can't, but I want you to say, okay, I'm testing my dog. Maybe I should do 40% of what I'm expecting. Being prepared means you're setting up situations that are appropriate for your dog and you're setting up proper expectations. If you go into a difficult situation and expect your dog to be perfect, you're going to feel frustrated and let down, and your dog is going to be frustrated as well. So make sure you set those proper expectations and set up situations where your dog is going to be successful whenever possible. And that's not going to be always, and that's okay. But I want you to be prepared both for you and for your dog and for the potential outcome of the situations that you find yourself in. Tip number 4 is that you use pattern games with your dogs. Now, I've talked about this a little bit, but by setting up predictable patterns for your dog, you're going to be surprised at how much it helps their reactive behavior. I'm going to link below a free lesson plan I created on introducing a pattern game. It's called 1, 2, 3. If you don't know what that is, definitely make sure you download that free lesson plan below. But this pattern game allows you to kind of take a look at a little sample of how impactful a simple pattern can really be for our dogs. Now, when we consistently do the same things, say the same things, ask our dog to do the same things every single time they're in a triggering scenario, we're going to make as much of this picture predictable as possible. And that's the key to our dog's success. You're not going to be able to predict how a human is going to behave, or if a dog is going to be on leash, off leash, friendly, or reactive themselves. We can't predict anything that we come across when we're out in the real world. But what we can do is provide that predictability or that anchor for our dog. Recently, I was on a plane, just got back from a behavior conference, and I haven't been on a plane since I was a child and I went to Disney World. I was terrified. I had all of the things to keep me successful. I had fidgets, I had food, I had all the things. And the first flight was terrifying. I, no joke, almost had a panic attack. I almost threw up. It was not a good time. I did not enjoy it at all. And the landing was horrific. But then we had to take a connecting flight to our final destination, and it was fine. And on the way home, we had to take 2 flights. And guess what? I had the window down the whole time. I was able to take pictures. I was able to watch the sunset on the plane. It was amazing. But do you know why? It's because I could predict what was going to happen. And when a plane takes off and lands, it's, for the most part, hopefully, exactly the same. And so I had that ability to understand exactly what was going to happen every flight I was on. And that allowed me to handle my anxiety a lot better. I was actually shocked on the second flight. I was like, why am I not panicking? It's because my brain knew what to expect. My body knew what to expect. We had predictability. Predictability is the best counterweight to anxiety. And when we give our dog something to really hold on to, it helps their behavior significantly. So pattern games is one of our big tips. All right. And tip number 5 is to give yourself permission to do as much or as little training as you feel comfortable. Sure. Now, I want you to go outside your comfort zone sometimes because that's where we grow. But there's no need to always be outside of your comfort zone. Trust me, I am not always outside of my comfort zone. It's okay to take a break from training sometimes, or maybe you just take your dog out for a walk in a quieter area so that they don't have to face the hard things every day, and you don't have to face the hard things every day. Now, with training, you get what you put in. So it's important that if you want your dog's behavior to improve, if it's important that your dog feel more confident in the world that they find themselves in, that you set aside and prioritize time to work with them to help improve their behavior and their quality of life. But that doesn't mean you have to do it every day or even 5 times a week, right? There's no perfect schedule. But I want you to know that it's okay if you're having a hard day. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to skip it today. Let's do training games inside. Or if it's been a really busy week or a holiday weekend and there's a lot of people out on your local trails or walking in your neighborhood, don't go. Or better yet, go to a sniff spot. That's what we do. It's okay to take a break sometimes. And please remember to give yourself grace. It's hard to live with a reactive dog. You have to completely change so much about your life to support a sensitive dog. And it's okay to prioritize yourself every now and again. All right, you guys, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give me a thumbs up below. It gives me a little positive reinforcement so I keep coming back to record these for you. And remember to tell your dog I said hi, give him a treat for me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.